Hi viewers, today I'm going to be showing you how to clean the idle air control valve on this 2003 Honda Accord. I'll also show how to clean the throttle body since they're in the same location. On the Honda Accord, this covers years from 2003 to 2012. Note that in 2006, Honda switched to a drive-by-wire system. In essence, you're not going to have these cables for the accelerator and also for the cruise control. Also note that drive-by-wire systems generally don't feature an idle air control valve. So cleaning the idle air control valve applies to the 2003 Honda Accord to the 2005 Honda Accord. While for the throttle body procedure, that covers from the 2003 to the 2012 with some slight differences to the process. This procedure also covers other Honda models with the K24A engine, some years of the Odyssey as well as the Honda Element. I had done an earlier video where I showed that even though my check engine light wasn't on, my idle air control valve was not functioning optimally and failed an active test using an active scan tool. So this is me trying to rectify that. Now let's get this. The main tools you're going to need are size 12 wrenches, needle nose pliers, Phillips screwdriver, old toothbrush, and then of course cap cleaner. Never mind the rogue screwdriver that just fell off. You also need a size 8 socket with an extension bar. We're going to be removing the intake hose as well as the air box. So we'll start by removing a couple electric connectors and hoses as well. Remove the electrical connector to the air temperature sensor. Remove the connector to the throttle position sensor. Pull this out of this groove. Remove this PCV hose. You just pull it out. We'll remove this little air chamber. I like to take it from, there's a small clip here, which is the part that's moving around. So you depress that, push this back, and that comes off. Remove this clamp for the intake air hose. Ordinarily, this takes a Phillips screwdriver, but mine are stripped out, so I get it with needle nose plier. Remove the 4 bolts holding the air box. And the last one here. Just to note that the bolts don't come out all the way. The intake airbox assembly is now ready to come out. Just pull on this end. I'll use this opportunity to replace my air filter. Remove this clip. Remove this air hose. It has a weird clip. Break the seal. Remove the locking nut for the cruise control and accelerator cables. These are size 12 bolts. And slide it out of this bracket. Important thing to note here is that this is the adjustment nut and this is the locking nut. So whatever you do, you don't want to move this particular adjustment nut. If not, you need to adjust your cruise control cable and your accelerator cable. Same thing here. Note that these 2 cables sit in those grooves. This one in that and this one in the other one. Then remove this electrical connector for the IAC valve. It has a tab, difficult location, but let me show you. The tab is behind. You just depress that and use a screwdriver to pry off. I'm going to try to leave the 2 coolant lines in and see if I could remove the idle air control valve and clean the throttle body. Remove the 2 throttle body bolts and also remove the 2 nuts. So next is to remove the throttle body from these stud bolts. Just give it a gentle tug. Yeah, and it comes free. Here's what the reverse side of the butterfly plate of the throttle body looks like. As you can see, it's quite dirty. Also the hole for the IACV valve, that's dirty as well. The intake manifold, yeah, carbon buildup as well as a bit of oil, which is fine because that comes from the PCV system. So because of how dirty the backside is, I've decided to remove the cooling lines just so I have a bit more leverage. I'm going to plug them with the bolts from the throttle body. Just be ready for some spillage of coolant. Break the seal. Also remove this other one. Make sure you keep a record of the orientation of these hoses. First one, top. Second one, which is like the bottom hose, goes into the bottom pipe. remove the cables for the cruise control and for the accelerator as well. The way you know the one for the cruise control is that it goes all the way back to that box over there. That's the cruise control thing, so be sure to make a note so that you don't get the cables mixed up. So cruise control is first, accelerator cable second, and to remove them you just similar way for the cruise control, and your throttle body is free. So next thing is to remove the idle air control valve. Is held by these two screws. Make sure you use an appropriate size or Phillips screwdriver so that you don't strip out the threads. That's difficult, so I'll give it a little whack. And that breaks free. Same thing goes for the second one. That was whacked off camera. Now this should be good to come off. Oops. So that falls off. And oh my gosh, so what's this? Seems like a piece of foam. Who knows where that came from? Really weird. I'll try to remove the gasket before cleaning. It's advised that you replace the gaskets, but I'm going to reuse this. It still looks in good condition. It's a bit stuck there. So rather than pulling, I'm pushing it, and that's coming out nicely. I'm removing this because carb cleaner can damage the integrity of the gasket. Nice. Make sure the electrical component part of the idle air control valve is facing upwards so that you don't get carb cleaner into sensitive elements. That's quite dirty. So that's looking clean now. Then you switch over to the throttle body. You don't want to forget this. That's very dirty. That's some carbon buildup. You can also use a cotton bud to get some of the areas you wouldn't normally get to. For the throttle body, I'll start by soaking that up. Front face. Press the butterfly valve. Clean the edges. Clean the sliding surfaces. Clean through. Also, spray onto a rag as much as you can. Clean this intake hole. A bit of cap cleaner to clean the mating surface. I'm not removing bits of the old gasket since I'm reusing mine. If I were putting a new one, I would make sure I scrape off all these things. We're good to put this back together. So make sure you clean the mating surface for the idle air control valve. Replace the gasket into its groove, smeared it in a bit of oil, and attach your now clean idle air control valve. Fit the two screws. You just need to get these snug and allow the gasket do its work. Guide the throttle body into two stud bolts. That goes in. Attach the two nuts. Replace the cooling lines. I'm just going to pull off these bolts. The two bolts go into their holes. Torque on these throttle body bolts are 22 Newton meters. Right. Don't forget the connector for the idle air control valve. So now we replace the cables. First of all, I'll start with the cruise control cable. It goes in like that. You run the cable back on its groove, and then get that seated in its place. Tighten the locking nut. Same goes for the accelerator cable. You replace this air hose. Don't forget the weird clamp. I use this opportunity to put in a new air filter. Replace the air box. Tighten the 4 air box bolts and also this clamp for the intake air hose. Replace the connectors for the throttle position sensor and the intake air temperature sensor. Replace this PCV hose. Push it all the way. Replace this small air box. Replace this clamp as well. So that's it all put back together. Next is we're going to bleed off air from the cooling system and also relearn the idle of the car. To bleed air from the cooling system, turn the radiator cap to the first setting so that it's loosely attached. Also unscrew this reservoir so that that's loosely attached. For the idle speed relearn, I'll just reset the ECU by removing the negative terminal of the battery and get that back. I'm going to be relearning the idle and also bleeding the cooling system at the same time. So the first thing to do is to start the car. Next is to ensure you power off all electrical things. So remove things from the accessory sockets. Turn this to the maximum heat. Ensure your steering wheel is centered. Raise this to 3000 RPMs. You're going to hold it in this position until the cooling fans come on twice and then you shut this off. Cooling fans have now come on twice. So we then drop the foot off the gas. And then you allow the car to idle for 5 minutes. Each time the fans come on, you discount for whatever duration the fans stay on. So that's that for the idle relearn. For the coolant, basically I didn't really lose any coolant, so it's just more of bopping air. My reservoir is full of coolant, so I don't intend to top up any coolant. It's going to draw whatever it needs from the reservoir. Inspect for leaks. I don't see any leaks. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. If this was helpful, do give the video a thumbs up, like and subscribe to the channel and also share. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.